Oh, icing sugar cream. It's hard for you to stay. Seeing the icing sugar cream come out, Charlotte Linlin said happily. When she is in a good mood, she is still very kind to many people. Even using the words of the people on the island to describe her as warm is not an exaggeration. In the original book, she even imitated the appearance of a nun and taught her children to get along well. As a result, even an old witch like Bray could be considered by Owen as a cute sister. It can be seen that her teaching is still the same. Quite effective. Look, I finally got my husband back. Charlotte. Linlin pointed to Sha Luo next to him and continued happily. Oh, yes. Congratulations, Linlin. Said with a smile, I also read the latest newspaper and heard that you two had a fight at Dressrosa, but no one knows the end result, and doesn't know what happened. Is he strong enough to defeat you, or was he defeated and brought back by you? Hearing his words, Sha Luo's brows moved slightly again. This guy, this is provocative, but it seems to be casual. He's already very strong. After 4 days and 4 nights, he can still fight me indissoluble, Sha Luo said. Linlin said, this time I have the upper hand. But next, I will fight again slowly. Sha Luo interrupted her, and continued, I don't agree with the way Linlin taught Amando and the others. Since they are my children, of course I hope not only are they feared, they are also respected and even admired. So, sooner or later, I will take back the teaching rights of my children from Linlin and teach them to be better children. Hearing his words, icing sugar and cream, as well as Perispero, Compart and others, as well as Katakori, Owen, Daifuku, Cracker, Amando, and Bree on the boat, all their faces moved at the same time. For the first time since I was sensible, I saw someone dare to openly interrupt Mom's words. And, in front of Mom, he said that he was going to snatch something from her. Something like never before. So, what's next? If someone else dared to contradict her like this, then the next thing that greeted him would be the deprivation of all his lifespans, right? Everyone looked at Sha Luo and Charlotte Linlin in surprise. Bree and Amando were worried. Sha Luo, is this what you think? Charlotte Linlin looked at Sha Luo and said. The powerful aura, even Katakori at this time, was shocked. That's right. Sha Luo calmly raised his head and looked at Sha Luo, who was 5 times his size. Linlin said, during my time in Wangguo, I must complete this thing. I can't watch a bunch of kids who call me father being led down a completely twisted path. Hearing his words, everyone was shocked again. He really hit it off. On the shore, Charlotte Compart and the others couldn't help but move in their hearts. Sure enough, as Amando and Bree said after they came back last time, even though the father and them had never met before, but he really cared about them from the bottom of his heart. Even more than Mom takes them seriously. In an instant, Charlotte Compart and others also felt a different kind of surging in their hearts. However, what will happen next when my father defies Mom openly and repeatedly like this? Everyone, involuntarily stared with bated breath. For a moment, the air seemed to freeze. Hearing Sha Luo's words, Charlotte Linlin looked at him again. Well, this is fine. Then, Charlotte Linlin suddenly laughed happily. As a father, you should really care about the children. Sure enough, it will feel more like a big family. Hearing her words, everyone was stunned at the same time. What? Mom actually forgive him directly. Even quite satisfied and praised. Incredible thing. To be able to make Mom like this, I is worthy of being a father. However, I won't let you get away easily and let you leave the world, Charlotte Linlin continued. Then let's wait and see, Sha Luo said lightly. Whenever you want to challenge me, I will take on it, Charlotte Linlin said, but, if you lose, you have to listen to me. Like the one a few days ago. Then. What do you want me to do? Sha Luo said. It's very simple, Charlotte. Linlin looked happy. You are my husband. Since 16 years ago, I have been wanting to hold you to sleep. Hearing the words of Sha Luo and Linlin, Sha Luo almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. Lying. In the trough? Charlotte Linlin, you want to f**k me so much? Wait. We are very different in size. This problem has not been solved. Mom, you have 1 room, and the makeup has been changed according to your request. While Sha Luo was frantically complaining, on the shore, Charlotte Compart seemed to have quickly and completely accepted it. The fact that Sha Luo is her own father and Mom's husband, she reported loudly, originally a woman's style that suits you, has been changed to a man's style that suits your father, and you can welcome him at any time. What? Hearing Compart's words, Sha Luo's face was black again. Holy crap, my daughter. What are you doing? Sending assists so madly, eager to see your father and me being topped by your mom. She and I are now 4 or 5 times the size of the difference. Hearing Compart's words, Sha Luo was speechless for a while. That's great. Charlotte. Linlin, with a satisfied expression at this time, said happily, "From now on, my bedroom will be his bedroom, and if he wants anything, you can too. You have to satisfy him, understand?" "Yes, Mom." The crowd responded in unison. "Mom, it's getting late," Parasparrow said. "The dinner has been arranged. Do you want to have dinner with your father?" "Of course, Charlotte." Linlin said, "Let's go." "Yes." The crowd disembarked immediately. Then, go to the palace in the center of the island. In the back, the icing sugar cream stopped slightly in place, watching Sha Luo, who was walking towards the palace with Charlotte, Linlin and a group of children. Just now, I deliberately mentioned the duel between him and Charlotte. Linlin. I expected that no matter who wins or loses in that duel, there will definitely be one side who will not accept it, or even have a quarrel in their hearts. But I didn't expect that neither the man nor Sha Luo and Linlin had any special emotions because of the victory or defeat of that battle. Moreover, it was even pointed out directly that the duel will continue in the future. But the relationship between the two as a husband and wife did not break down because of this. What is the result of this? Moreover, that man just casually accepted Amando, Bree, and even Compert, who were not related by blood to him. How can that be? Charlotte Linlin still has an absolute connection in soul with those children, so he is their mom, but you obviously have nothing to do with them in body and soul. Is it true that just relying on father, become a father yourself? He must be acting too, right? Damn it. The powdered sugar cream gritted his teeth bitterly, almost biting his long sheen head because of his trance. At the same time, while walking towards the palace, Sha Luo sneered in her heart. A person who can only display careful thinking, your little thoughts will not only be invisible in front of my tyrant's territory, but also, even my electromagnetic ability in seeing and hearing, can directly feel you. The inner turmoil has fluctuated. Although in the original book, this guy seems to have become very kind after getting old. However, Lousy is not looking at what you will be like when you are old. The guy who taught bad Charlotte Linlin, and also repeatedly resorted to tricks, will find an opportunity to completely eliminate you. Compared with that kind of sinister, Amando, Bree, and even Compart, who met him for the first time, seemed to be happy inside. Ah, right. Sweet father. When the two sides recognize each other, is it also valid for the righteous daughter? Sha Luo secretly opened the system interface and glanced at the attribute description. Intimate father. Exclusive attribute, which can sense the location of the corresponding daughter in times of crisis, and at the same time, within a certain distance, the daughter can directly sense the love of the father. Because of excessively carrying a daughter, if he continues to obtain his own offspring, the offspring can only be female. Amando, Bree, and even Compant, who met for the first time, seem to be quite close to him now. They are also affected by their own attributes, because they have accepted them, and they really feel the kindness of family members. This property is really good. Anyway, I am a man who has become a father, and I deeply understand the relationship between a father and a daughter, so as long as they sincerely call themselves father, then I will continue to treat them as daughters from now on. Treat it. Sha Luo felt happy in her heart. Soon, everyone entered the palace. At this time, I saw that the long dining table was already full of meals. Near the door, there were 3 little girls, who were holding the door and watching Charlotte, Linlin, Sha Luo and others who entered the palace. Mom. Seeing Charlotte, Linlin walked in, and the 3 little girls quickly greeted him. Father, father. Then, one of the little girls, looking at Sha Luo, suddenly spoke again, and then whispered. Are you? Hearing the girl's voice, Sha Luo couldn't help but stop and look at her. I saw that these 3 little girls, from the face and upper body, looked like they were only 1 or 2 years old, but their legs were very long, nearly 80 centimeters. Smoochie, he's really smart. Charlotte Linlin smiled happily. The first time I saw him, I recognized the father in the photo and called out. Hearing her words, Sha Luo couldn't help but startled slightly. Father, they are long-legged triplets, Smoothie, Strawn, and Snayman, who are just 1.5 years old now. Besides, Compert quickly explained to him, because they are still young, so they didn't let them go out to meet their father, and just let them wait here. Oh, is it? Sha Luo said. One of the 3 dessert stars in the original book, a woman who has the ability to squeeze juice from living bodies, including living people, or inorganic substances and drink girl juice. From now on, don't be so cruel. To be honest, if you gave me a glass of that kind of sister juice, my father couldn't even drink. Is it Smoothie? A good name. I secretly complained, but Sha Luo quickly smiled at the little Smoothie and said, from now on, be a good daughter. Smoothie answered obediently. At this time, her face is innocent and cute, well-behaved and obedient. How can one think that she will squeeze people's juice in the future? That night, Everyone sat at the long dining table and ate together, the Charlotte family's first parents-gathering dinner in many years. During the banquet, Sha Luo also got to know her children from the Sha Luo family one by one. In the original book, they were all prominent characters in the All Nations, but now, they are all their own children, which is also a strange feeling. However, as I said earlier, fortunately, Sha Luo is already a father, so as long as the other party is sincere, it is not difficult for him to accept it. A dinner party with a harmonious atmosphere. Then, Sha Luo, this is my room and yours. How is it? It's spacious, right? Your body is still recovering. Next. Let's rest together. This, looking at the huge chuang shop in front of him, and the special Sha Luo who is 4 or 5 times his size. Linlin, Sha Luo took a deep breath and twitched. Sha Luo couldn't help but think of the prompt from the system a few months ago. Because of Charlotte Linlin's strength and size are huge, and his summoning is limited, and he is unable to perform husband and wife behavior when summoned. Please narrow the size gap between the two parties. At the time, I didn't care about it, and I wasn't in a hurry at all, but I didn't expect that a few months later, it would actually come across this embarrassing thing. Then what? Linlin, our body shapes are still very different now, Sha Luo said angrily, and I'm still injured. If I fall asleep in the middle of the night and you roll over, I will. If you don't have time to respond in your sleep, that's bad. Even if you have time to respond, you will wake up from your dream, so you won't be able to sleep well. Although he now has a high-intensity sensuality that is close to Whitebeard's eat, sleep, and hit ace, in the original book, the sensuality, or the corresponding sense of crisis, is actually relatively artificial most of the time. In terms of intentional crisis, because the master has an extremely sensitive response to the enemy's killing intent and some special psychological fluctuations of the enemy. And the accidental danger, like Golden Lion being hit in the head by the rudder, sometimes on the contrary, there is no way to predict it in advance. Otherwise, even if the Golden Lion can't dodge, at least he can add an armed color to himself, and he will not be beaten from a Golden Lion to a Golden Rooster by a wooden rudder. Now, Sha Luo is the same. Charlotte Linlin certainly didn't intend to hurt him. But, what if she just wanted to roll over in the middle of the night, or pat a mosquito? Then, you get crushed. Even if he is not flat, after all, he has the physical strength of pangolin armor, and years of practice, he will definitely wake up from his dream immediately. In this way, if you wake up at every turn, you won't be able to sleep well at all. Of course, these are not the most important is 4 or 5 times the body shape difference. How embarrassing it would be to lie together. Oh. Is that so? Hearing Sha Luo's words, Charlotte Linlin looked at him, but his eyes were still eager, and he said, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to find a way to make you as big as me. I've thought about this before. Then, Sha Luo asked in confusion. Just come with me, Charlotte Linlin said. Then look at the thundercloud Zeus and the sunfire Prometheus. Zeus, Prometheus, you stay outside. I am with my husband tonight. Yes, Mom. Zeus and Prometheus replied at the same time. Then, obediently slip out the door. Sha Luo and Linlin closed the door with a backhand. Then, he walked to his chuang shop and sat on it. Seeing this, Sha Luo was speechless and had to walk over. Otherwise, I'll just lean on the chuang bed and sleep on the ground. Sha Luo said, anyway, I'm used to this kind of thing. I used to do it when I was practicing. How can you do this? Sha Luo said. Linlin said, you don't have to sleep on the floor. You are my husband. I will make you sleep well, and you don't have to worry about being crushed by me. Then, Sha Luo asked again, puzzled. At this time, Sha Luo and Linlin had already reached out his hand. Then, like a little girl hugging a Barbie doll, she immediately picked up little Sha Luo with both hands. Ha! Sha Luozui couldn't help but twitch. Instinctively, I wanted to resist, but I thought that Sha Luo and Linlin didn't have any ill will towards him, so he temporarily gave up and struggled. Charlotte Linlin quickly hugged Sha Luo in front of him. Then, holding Sha Luo in both hands, he lay down on the chuang. Then, he turned Sha Luo slightly, turned his back to himself, turned towards his mouth, and slowly put it down. Then press inside and squeeze. There was a giant rock to suppress, and Charlotte Linlin's big hand below. Sha Luo was immediately, firmly, fixed. Sha Luo was speechless for a moment. This. Sha Luo was at a loss for words. Steel balloon. This is the word used by Capone Beeg to describe the physical strength of Sha Luo and Linlin in the original book, which means that her body is like steel, very strong and tough. Even a hail of bullets cannot give her a hint of scars, but at the same time there. Because, he is the one who has experienced it the most, and possibly the only man. But now the problem is not here. The problem is, shit. In an instant, Sha Luo remembered a popular meme in the three-dimensional world. Sister, shake slowly. Proud? Sha Luo is in deep pain. I will protect you well. During the pain, only Sha Luo was heard. Linlin continued, even if you turn over accidentally, it will not directly press on you, you can rest assured to sleep. Alright. Really? Sha Luo was speechless. Besides, it's so pleasing to say that. Charlotte Linlin added, it's been 16 years, Sha Luo, and now, I can finally hold you to sleep. By the way, are you using me as a pillow? However, who said that he really lost to her before? Okay, I'm going to bed, Sha Luo said helplessly. Well, Charlotte Linlin thought happily, Kaido in his mouth, I will hold you like this until you beat me. You are my husband and my spoil. Sha Luo was speechless. It seems that starting from tomorrow, I have to practice hard. Sha Luo then closed her eyes and fell asleep. Under him, Charlotte Linlin was in a very happy mood, so he hugged him and fell asleep quickly. That night, Sha Luo had a dream. In the dream, he practiced boxing hard. Seeing this, Sha Luo was surprised. Wait, what's the situation? Sha Luo said without thinking. Really? Charlotte Linlin was a little strange and at the same time a little lost. Hearing her voice, Sha Luo felt a little silent in her heart. Unlike in the original book, because of the Easter eggs 16 years ago, and because of the strange coincidence last time, this time, she seems to really like herself. Now that I have finally chased myself, and become a husband and wife, and as a result, I have received such an answer, it seems. Really a bit of a mess. Well, although it's really good, Sha Luo immediately added another sentence. Really, Charlotte. Linlin's voice quickly became pleasant again, as long as you like it. Sha Luo replied a little speechlessly. However, what he just said was not a lie. Okay, I'm getting up. Sha Luo sighed. Yeah. Charlotte Linlin replied happily. Sha Luo couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Although it does sleep well, but it's a shame to think about it. And this kind of life had to continue before he beat Sha Luo and Linlin. No, then you have to practice quickly. Sha Luo quickly got up and put on his slippers. It is said that all cattle people wear this, and Sha Luo also confirmed this truth once again. Beside Charlotte Linlin also played Chuang. At the same time, he exclaimed, Zeus, Prometheus. Mom. The door to the soul improved house opened automatically, and Zeus and Prometheus flew in quickly. Mom. What's your order? Zeus and Prometheus asked. Tell Compert to serve their father early, Charlotte Linlin said, also, tell Pero's Puro to get ready to get up early. Yes, Mom. The two quickly flew out. Sha Luo originally wanted to say that it didn't need to be so troublesome, but, thinking that this was Wan Guo, everyone had long been accustomed to obeying Charlotte Linlin's various orders, so he swallowed his words. Compert quickly rushed over and washed Sha Luo's face. She is 15 years old now, and the original book is a very fat woman. That may be because she eats too many sweets, and has inherited a certain gene from Charlotte Linlin. After all, Charlotte Linlin was really fat when she was a child, and now, although there is no direct blood relationship with Charlotte Linlin, maybe it is the reason for sweets, maybe her soul, her existence, has already decided everything, so, although only 15 years old, but she is still a little fat, and it is estimated that in a few years, she will grow into a fat pig-like woman. Father. Compert held the water basin in front of Sha Luo and exclaimed. Oh. Sha Luo glanced at her again and responded. Then, he picked up the towel in the basin and wiped his face. This is my daughter. Looking back, I have to think of a way for her. Although it's not that I marry her, what do I do with her, and she may not care about her appearance very much, but which father wants to see his daughter be an ugly woman all his life? Even if you are only beautiful for a few years in your youth, it will do. Oh, by the way, Oribabena's slippery fruit, awakened state, I wonder if I can help her, slippery, too. After all, the fruit in the original book has an excellent beauty effect. Sha Luo thought to herself. At the same time, put the towel that wiped your face back into the basin. In front of him, Charlotte Compert, his eyes moved slightly at this time. Is it an intuition or an illusion? In addition to the concern for all the children that I felt yesterday from the words of the father in front of me, now I feel an extra warmth instinctively. Father, what are you thinking? Compart asked subconsciously. Sha Luo came back to her senses, it's nothing. Compert, you are my daughter, from now on, you don't have to be too restrictive in front of me. Hearing his words, Compart's eyes moved again. Sure enough. He is a very kind father. Where? Compert said quickly, daughter respects her father, as she should. Really? Sha Luo muttered. Okay, Go and serve your mom. Yes. Compert then walked towards Charlotte Linlin. Soon, Charlotte Linlin also simply washed. Then, together with Sha Luo, we went back to the hall and had breakfast. Father, do you want to visit the island next? Bray said excitedly. Whether it's this cake island or the other 34 islands in the world, with my mirror fruit, you can go back and forth quickly. Other people on the island would definitely like to see Mom and his father on the island. There are also different kinds of cakes on each island. This. Sha Luo thought about it and asked, is there any island and hills that have more? Shan? Bray asked in confusion. Father, what do you want Zhao Shan to do? Practice boxing. Sha Luo thought about it and said slowly. Hearing his words, next to him, Charlotte Linlin's brows couldn't help moving. Then, subconsciously squeezed I and squeezed my fist. That's it. Bray quickly thought about it and said loudly, speaking of mountains, there are not many islands with mountains in Wangguo, but there are some on Rock Sugar Island. Okay. Sha Luo said energetically, next, take me there. Oh. A breakfast has been eaten quickly. Bray unleashes the power of the mirror fruit and takes Sha Luo into the mirror world. Then, go to Rock Sugar Island. Cake Island. Charlotte Linlin stood up slowly. Perispello, Katakori, Compart, the affairs of the nations will be handed over to you for the time being. Mom, where are you going? Hearing her words, Perispero asked inexplicably. I will go to the beach by myself. Charlotte Linlin simply Kaido, none of you have to follow. Oh, hearing this, everyone responded and looked at each other. Charlotte Linlin then walked to a certain coast of Cake Island. On the other side, Sha Luo soon came to Bingtang Island. Sure enough, there are quite a few hills standing on the island. Okay, I'll practice with them next. Sha Luo squeezed my fist, and the joints on the fist crackled. As Dad trying to beat Mom? Bray said. That's right. Sha Luo didn't hide it, and touched Belay's head. One day, I will take back your teaching rights from her hands. Really? Bray said excitedly, although I don't know what my father wants us to do, but if it is my father's orders, it must be very good. Okay. I'm going to start practicing. Sha Luo smiled and said, Bray, you go back and do your own business first, and at noon, bring me some lunch. Yes, father. Bray exclaimed excitedly. Then, went back to Cake Island from the mirror. Sha Luo, on the other hand, walked towards the hill ahead energetically. Hoo, on Bingtang Island, there was soon a sound of shaking the ground. A few hours passed in a blink of an eye. Sha Luo let out a long breath. Taking a mountain to practice boxing, the feeling of this practice is good. When I get to the point where I can smash a hill with one punch without relying on the bonus of the immortal state and the unicorn arm that have reached the upper limit, and only relying on the weapon color and the activation of the Ru body, plus the immortal state and the unicorn arm, it should be you can have the upper hand in front of Charlotte Linlin. As long as you practice hard like this day should not be too far away. After all, although Charlotte Linlin was born with extraordinary talents, his growth in the later stage was not high, and it can even be said that there was no obvious growth in other aspects except for the continuous development and use of soul fruit. She stayed where she was, and she tried to fly, catch up with her, or even surpass her, it would be a matter of time. Well, that's the momentum. Sha Luo squeezed my fist again. Father, big event. At this time, Bray's voice suddenly came from behind. Soon, run to the vicinity of Charlotte beside her, Amando also followed. What's the matter? Sha Luo looked at the two and said, could it be that someone invaded the kingdoms, or did your mom start killing again? No. Bree waved her hands and said loudly, Mom, she somehow reached the uninhabited shore of Cake Island by herself, and then she faced the sea, used Napoleon, forcefully split in the air. What do you mean? Hearing this, Sha Luo looked puzzled. What does she want to do? Brother Katakori said that Mom is practicing and strengthening her armament hockey, Bray said, but this is the first time I heard that Mom also needs to practice. Puff. Hearing Bu Lei's words, Sha Luo, who was full of confidence, almost spit out blood. Charlotte Linlin also began to practice. It's okay to stay where you are, and wait for me to overtake it? Hey, you're doing this, not too kind. Hearing the news brought by Bu Lei, Sha Luo's heart collapsed in an instant. Charlotte Linlin even started to practice. Originally, his physical fitness was at the level of a monster, but now, he is still serious? Your sister, if you continue like this, in a few years, even Whitebeard and Roger will be unable to stand it. I'm not afraid of talented people, and I'm not afraid of hardworking people, but if the talent is already very changed, and then it turns out to be very hard. This proper YY novel protagonist template, how can others mix? Only need to bring another XX system. Father, are you alright? Seeing Sha Luo's face hurting, Amando asked with concern. It's nothing. Sha Luo took a deep breath. You moms have started to practice seriously. This. Cough. This is a good thing. In this way, our strength will be stronger. However, it's a little harder to convince you mom about the matter. Mom doesn't seem to want his father to surpass him, Amando said. Father, is there anything else we can do next? If we have anything to do with us, we will definitely do our best to help my father. Yeah. Bree said. Is that so? Hearing the words of the two, Sha Luo felt both moved and helpless. It is touching that the daughters are so caring towards their father, which really warms my heart. But unfortunately, what else can I do? Sha Luo and Linlin get serious. Whitebeard will probably frown. Just wait for the system. It's okay. Sha Luo forced a smile and patted Amando on the shoulder. Although I haven't figured it out yet, the boat will naturally straighten when it reaches the bridge, and there will definitely be a way in the future. For now, just keep practicing. You don't have to worry about it. Is that so? Amando said. Then, like my father, I also work hard to cultivate. Maybe one day, I can use my strength. Yeah. Hearing this, Bray said immediately, I'm not going to play in the forest of temptation, I'm going to practice. Okay. Sha Luo smiled happily. Even if the two of them practiced hard, they wouldn't have much effect on facing Sha Luo and Linlin, but it was quite touching to have this kind of intention. Whether you have the ability or not is one thing, but the intention is impeccable. Then, Father, I'm going back now to find Brother Cracker to practice swordsmanship, Amando said. I'm going back to find a way to practice. Bray said, oh, yes, this is the lunch you brought to your father. It is good. Sha Luo took the lunch and smiled again. Amando and Bray said goodbye and went back to Cake Island. From the back, Sha Luo watched the two leave, and was relieved and sighed. Linlin. If I travel back now and tell my classmates who used to watch One Piece together, 4 Emperor's Big Mom is practicing seriously because of my reasons, I guess they won't believe it if they are killed? But, this really happened. A serious Linlin practice, relying on ordinary methods, must be difficult to surpass. In this case, you can only count on the system. It is now January 1489 of the Haiyuan calendar, and the system is not bubbling right away. Moreover, just a few months ago, in August of 1488, the system also opened the Easter eggs of Tyrant territory. According to the frequency of Easter eggs, except for special Easter eggs, at least before August this year, I am afraid there will be no regular Easter eggs. Under normal circumstances, the next Easter egg may appear around January 1490. If it is later, it may be delayed until August or even the end of the year. It seems that time has to be slowed down. Forget it, I'll continue to hit the mountain first. Sha Luo sighed. Then, as if condensing all the worries in his heart into his fist, he hit the hill in front of him. Hoo! On Bingtang Island, there was a sound of shaking the ground again. A quarter of an hour later, ding! The sound of the system prompt suddenly rang in my mind. Sha Luo was taken aback. I just said that the system will not bubble in a short period of time, but it turns out that this is a second slap in the face? What system prompts come out at this time? Sha Luo then turned on the system. System prompt. The associated special Easter egg, father and daughter concentric, is automatically triggered. Father and daughter concentric. When the father does not ask for it, the father and daughter make a concerted effort on matters of great interest, and the daughter takes risk, completely on important decisions that may endanger her own safety. Favors the father, can trigger the associated Easter egg and obtain the associated attribute, father and daughter concentric. Currently successfully triggered and obtained, father and daughter concentric, a total of 3 eggs of the same type. Father and daughter are concentric. When the other party is willing, the father can obtain a part of the body energy from the daughter at a ratio of 80% to strengthen the physique and strength, or obtain the spiritual energy from the daughter at a ratio of 80%, thereby strengthening spiritual strength. If he is willing, the father can transfer part of his body energy and spiritual energy to his daughter at a rate of 100%, thereby strengthening the daughter's related attributes. Because this feature is triggered, the Easter eggs corresponding to father and son cannot be triggered. Seeing the system prompt, Sha Luo couldn't help being stunned. Easter eggs. Really here? Moreover, the effect turned out to be the common and mutual use of energy, and its sturdiness is self-evident. Just like the mutual transmission of internal forces in martial arts novels. Although the effect is different from the couple concentric, triggered by Lisa and Tia last time, they are absolutely practical. And this time, the trigger reason, if you think about it a little, I am afraid you can understand. It was Amando and Bree, who were at the risk of being annoyed by and their mom one day. In Parents Showdown, they were completely biased towards their father, and thus started their full strength practice. Oh my daughter. Sha Luoshan patted her forehead with joy and sorrow. Is this Easter egg coming at the right time or at the wrong time? You must know that among these daughters of Wan Guo, now, there are not many who can fight. If the father and son system is triggered, it will be a big deal. Katakuri, Owen, Daifuku, Cracker, these are all combat powers. If you use father and son concentric to transform into your own power, you might be able to overturn Charlotte Linlin. But, in the case of father and daughter, the only female star among the 3 stars, Charlotte Smoothie. It's only 1.5 years old now, of course, just as Sha Luo's electric field maintenance gave him the ability to consume a small amount of physical strength and convert the external electric field into his own physical energy. In the 2-dimensional world of One Piece, internal force does not just mean anything, Dantian Chi, but includes various attributes such as physique, strength, and spiritual power. To put it more clearly, it seems to be closer to the definition of energy in Hokage. No matter what physical energy, spiritual energy, or natural energy is, it is all energy and can be extracted. Similarly, strengthening the corresponding energy, naturally. It will enhance the strength of physical fitness, strength, spirit and other aspects. For example, the Uzumaki clan and the Uchiha clan are the representatives of physical energy and spiritual energy respectively. However, let's not say much about Hokage for now. Now, the question is how to use this father and daughter together. According to what Sha Luo learned the day before, the Sha Luo family now has 24 sons, including the 3 sisters Smoji, who are only 1.5 years old, and Sha Luo, who can't walk yet. 18 daughters, some of whom have angered Charlotte Linlin in the past, or accidentally bumped into Charlotte Linlin when he ran wild because of sympathy, or some other accidental reasons. It is no longer possible to appear in front of Sha Luo. Now in Wan Guoli, Sha Luo has 21 sons and 16 daughters. Not to mention the son. Among the daughters, 7 are over 10 years old. The eldest daughter, Charlotte Compert, is 15 years old. The second daughter is no longer there, and the third daughter is Amando, who is 13 years old. Then 2 pairs of twins aged 12 and 11, and finally Bray, who was under 11. Among them, even Compert, who has a good impression of himself, may not dare to stand firmly on the side of his father in the parent showdown. As a result, among the 7 daughters, only Amando and Bray, the 2 daughters who saw him first and were rescued by him, were the most determined to him. Among the 2, because of the fact that he ate the Jingjing fruit since he was a child, and because of his playfulness, he has nothing worth mentioning in other aspects except the fruit ability. Only Amando, on the one hand, is a bit cold, on the other hand, because as a snake-headed clan, as a human-shaped giraffe, he was more or less received by Sha Luo like pudding in the original book. Some of Linlin's neglect, in order to survive, had to practice hard to make himself useful, so his strength was barely enough. And Amando, a little bit is not enough. Still, even then, it's better than nothing. You must know that Amando's current level of Taishu and Haki is not high. Therefore, the improvement will be the most obvious effect. Just like playing online games, it is definitely easier to upgrade from level 1 to level 30 than from level 90 to level 100. Fighting the same level 30 experience monster, the experience gained by a level 1 trumpet is definitely more than that of a level 90 tuba, without considering the upper limit of experience storage. In this case, brush a little experience value from her, and then use it repeatedly? Let's use an online game as an analogy, that is, help her upgrade from level 1 to level 30, then take away the experience, let her fall back to level 1, and then re-upgrade to level 30. Holy crap, this method is too obscene, right? How did I come up with it? And, I feel a little sorry for Amando, but wait. If I still use the experience value in the online game as an analogy, I will first take away her experience value repeatedly and save it. Later, when her level is high, the experience accumulation in the practice is slow and will reach a bottleneck. And give it back to her all at once. Isn't it just convenient for her to break through? The legendary, pressure level brush monster. You can try it. Sha Luo suddenly discovered that, as a man who has traveled through the modern society of the 3-dimensional world, playing online games is actually an advantage. At least, this method, even if the indigenous people of the One Piece world have the same father and daughter ability as him, I am afraid it is difficult to think of it, or it is difficult to think of it right away. Okay. Go back to and try it now. Sha Luo immediately stopped hitting the mountain. Then, looking around, walked towards the town. It's Lord Sha Luo. The people of Bingtang Island already knew that Sha Luo was practicing there, and when they saw him coming, they all saluted. In terms of appellation, Sha Luo has asked Charlotte Linlin to inform Wang Guo that most people should just call him by his name. He really can't be the father of so many people. What's more, Charlotte Linlin's Big Mom is more like a title, and his title is not Big Baba. only when Amando and Bray have called themselves since childhood. The father of the father's children's father is on it. Lord Sha Luo, do you need anything? Minister of Bingtang, from the 5th town quickly came to ask. Are there any phone bugs? Sha Luo said. Call my daughter Bray for me, I'm going back to Cake Island. Wait a minute, I'll contact you right away. Minister of Bingtang soon went to contact him personally. Soon Bree emerged from a mirror. Father, why do you suddenly want to go back to Cake Island so soon? Seeing Sha Luo, Bray asked in confusion, is there anything urgent? Thanks to you and Amando, I have come up with a way to try it out. Sha Luo said, let's go back first. It is good. Bray unleashes the power of the mirror fruit and takes Sha Luo into the mirror world. Then, go to Cake Island. Soon, he returned to the island. Sha Luo frowned. Better than Charlotte, Linlin also had a strong sense of sight, and quickly scanned the island. Soon, based on the perception of the strength of the other party's breath, the location of Amando was determined. Go to your sister Amando first, Sha Luo said. Okay. Bray replied, does father know where she practiced? Of course. Sha Luo said, come with me. The two quickly walked forward. Before long, only the sound of swords colliding with swords could be heard in front of them. Then, a Kong Dang sound was heard, and one of the swords seemed to be shot down. Damn it. A woman's familiar voice came over with unwillingness. Sister Amando, you don't have a master, Hockey. You can't beat me now, this is an inevitable result. A man said, but I haven't seen you like this before, why do you feel a little impatient? Amando said. Hockey, it's useless to be anxious about this kind of thing, another man said slowly. Apart from being born, one can either stimulate potential in difficult situations or even desperate situations, or just wait for the right opportunity and suddenly realize, Amando, you are usually very calm. What's going on today? That's because. Amando hesitated. Nothing. Hockey. Several people said this. At this time, only a man's voice was heard, and it suddenly came over in a hurry. It may not be difficult to break through the past and cross the threshold. Father? Hearing the man's words, Amando and the others suddenly looked over in surprise. That man was undoubtedly Charlotte in the front. The people who practiced with Amando were Cracker, who practiced swords with her, and the triplets Katakori, Owen, and Daifuku who were watching. Father, why did you come back suddenly? Amando took a few steps to greet him and said. Amando, if I want to get something from you temporarily, would you be willing to give it to me? Sha Luo didn't answer and asked directly. Yes, father. Amando replied seriously. What my father wanted, of course I was willing to give it to him. Even life can be handed over to him. What's more, she is also convinced that the father who loves them deeply will never do anything excessive to her for no reason. Very good. Sha Luo smiled with satisfaction. Then, I'll give you something first, so that you can change from 0 to 1. Saying that, he stepped forward. Then, Shen shot and gently pressed Amando's shoulder. Then, with a frown, father and daughter concentric, activated. Amando's brows moved involuntarily. In the body, and even in the soul, it seems that some special things have been injected by the father. And, immediately, it is fully integrated with your body and your soul. It's as if water and cow's milk intersect, and it's like a spring breeze blowing into the buds of flowers that are about to bloom. Well. Amando couldn't help but let out a low groan. Then, he raised his hand and squeezed his palm. On the palm of the hand, it seems that there is a power that has not been there before, and now it can be released and attached to the weapon. Father, this is. Amando was surprised. Would you like to compare with Cracker again? Sha Luo didn't answer directly, but smiled slightly. Yes, father. Amando said. Immediately, he walked to the side and picked up the sword that had just been knocked into the air. Brother Cracker, shall we have another match? Okay, Cracker said. The two stood opposite each other. Then, Amando suddenly raised his sword and stabbed at the opponent. Seeing this, Cracker quickly greeted him with a sword. Clang. The two swords collided again in the air. Huh. Cracker frowned. His sword was under Amando's sword body. Originally, he was going to pick it up just like before, relying on the armed color, so that Amando couldn't hold it. But this time, Amando's sword is not as light as before, but seems to have enormous power. Shesh. Pressing Cracker's sword, Amando pressed the blade diagonally downward. Cracker was careless and completely passive, and the tip of his sword was pressed to the ground by her. Then, with a quick draw, he slid away the sword that Amando was pressing on the sword, and jumped back. On the opposite side, Amando's pupils moved slightly, but it seemed that he had already foreseen his reaction. He moved his feet and quickly chased after him. Then, the sword was chasing forward, The body of the sword was horizontal, and with a pop sound, the top of the long sword was on the back of Cracker's sword-wielding hand, and he quickly slapped it. Cracker was taken aback. If Amando and him were in a life-and-death struggle, and instead of using the blade to slap him, but to slash himself with the blade, then the hand holding the sword would have been slashed by now. And although she is armed, Amando's power at this time makes her instinctively feel that even with armed defense, she may be able to cut herself. Cracker was shocked. At the same time, he quickly followed Amando's offensive and flashed to the left. On the opposite side, Amando seemed to have foreseen his reaction again at this time, and quickly pursued one step. Then, with a pop, the blade slapped his wrist again. "Wait. Sister." Cracker finally exclaimed with a look of surprise, "What's the matter with you?" Although he was careless, he let Amando take the lead, so the master took the initiative all of a sudden. However, the power on Amando's sword, as well as the speed and accuracy of her pursuit, are still astonishing. Is this still the little sister who was abused by armament hockey who was the master just now? Brother Katakuri, this is. Next to him, Owen said with a surprised expression. Hockey. Katakuri frowned deeply. Furthermore, the sight color and the armed color are turned on at the same time. No way. Dafu said in shock. In the blink of an eye, both hockeys were turned on at the same time? How can that be? You must know that even the three brothers and the younger brother Cracker that Mom valued, except for the older brother Katakuri, the others are currently only masters of one kind of hockey. But now, younger sister Amando, who is not taken seriously, has become a master of two kinds at once. That's right. Katakuri said slowly. Said, looking at Sha Luostok not far away. As this. The power of my father? As magical and unbelievable power as Mom. Katakuri was taken aback. Unexpectedly, my father has the power to give others something similar to Mom. And listening to what he just said, can not only give, but also take. This is really the same as the power of Mom. Thinking of Mom, Katakuri couldn't help but be even more surprised in his heart. In a sense, this ability of Sha Luo is really similar to some abilities of Charlotte Linlin's soul fruit. Charlotte Linlin can take the life of others, and can also give souls to other things. And Sha Luo can endow Amando with physical and mental energy, and also can take those energy from her. These include Haki, a force related to one's willpower that can be classified as spiritual energy. Thinking about it carefully, even Sha Luo was even a little surprised. The abilities of the two are magically similar and even matched. Of course, even without these similarities, Sha Luo didn't care at all and showed this ability in front of Katakuri and others. After all, he was originally a powerhouse. Where do you need to be timid and secretive every day, holding that kind of mentality of, there are always people who want to harm me, and even dare not use the abilities that you want to use in? If they want to harm, they have to have that ability. What's more, this is all nations. Laozi is the father of dozens of islands here, who dares to slice and study me. I think Laozi's ability is incredible, so why don't you first study why Sha Luo is special? Linlin was born with a steel balloon, without some inexplicable magical ability. Can you be your parents? After Cracker shouted, Amando stopped chasing. The two immediately stopped fighting. Amando quickly walked back. Father, is this the same ability as Mom? Amando said in surprise and joy. Let's take it as it is. Sha Luo said, although there are big differences, they are indeed similar in some respects. For example, when your mom draws life expectancy, the other party needs to be afraid, while my abilities can only be used for daughters, and also certain conditions must be met. He was too lazy to explain, and this time it was necessary to keep a little secret. However, since Katakuri, Owen, Daifuku, Cracker and others were present, he would also briefly and vaguely explain the activation of the ability, restrictions, lest they feel that their father is too partial, and that any benefits are only given to Amando. Hearing his words, Amando and others all know the ability of Mom. By comparison, it is not surprising that his father's ability has activation restrictions. Amando, now you have crossed the threshold of hockey. But the level is still relatively low, and you are just getting started. Next, let's practice well. Sha Luo smiled slightly. In the future, I will use your power. Yes, father. Amando replied excitedly. It turns out that my father has such amazing abilities. And, I chose myself. It can be useful for my father. At that time, even if my father wants to extract the power just now and the power obtained by his own cultivation from himself like Mom, as long as it is his father, there is no problem at all. Okay, keep practicing with Cracker. Cracker was just careless just now. If you're not careless, you still have to fight now. Sha Luo added. Yeah. Amando replied. As for you guys. Sha Luo looked at Katakuri and the others again. Katakuri, Owen, Dafuku, do you want to fight with me? This. Where are we our father's opponent? Katakuri said. Although in front of outsiders, until he met Luffy in the original plot era, he had never been defeated, but in front of Mom and his father in front of him, this kind of thing obviously cannot be expected. It doesn't matter. Sha Luo smiled and said, I am different from your mom. The attack power is actually a combination of several abilities. I only use some of them. You three brothers, let's go together. Hearing this, the three of Katakuri glanced at each other. Okay. The next moment, Katakuri responded. He was not a person who was afraid of fighting, but it was not convenient to fight Mom who was a woman. And now, since his father wanted to teach them, that was exactly what he wanted. The four of them immediately stood opposite each other. And then, the two sides slammed towards each other and rushed over. Hoo! Near the forest of temptation, the sound of punching and kicking soon sounded. At the same time there is a father is so strong. Come on brother. Brother Dafu, be careful. Brother Katakuri can actually catch his father's fist, it's too strong. Or my father is stronger, even Katakuri eldest brother was beaten. Bray's little fangirl's voice sounded excited from time to time. On the battlefield, the father is majestic and handsome. And brother Katakuri, brother Owen, and brother Daifuku were also barely able to get in touch with the father who has not done his best. Although sometimes even Katakuri is beaten by his father, but when his son is beaten by Lousy, of course it cannot be regarded as a defeat, so this does not affect Bree's undefeated brother Katakuri's tall image at all. Of course, after all, my father is more handsome and stronger. Looking at the handsome and powerful battle in front of him, Bray is like watching an idol drama, and he is full of satisfaction. And this battle, as well as the battle between Cracker and Amando nearby, soon attracted the attention of many other people. That guy really considers himself the father of Katakuri and the others. Amando. How could he be like this with Cracker? Looking at the battle ahead, apart from Sha Luo, the only man on this island who can directly call Charlotte. Linlin, powdered sugar cream, frowned, and muttered to himself in both resentment and surprise. He clearly has no blood relationship with those children, but to be their father like a real father, this is definitely acting, just to get Sha Luo, Linlin, and Wang Guo. In addition, although they are similar in age, Cracker's aptitude has been much better than Amando since he was a child, so there should be a clear difference in the strength of the two. But now, can they be evenly matched? What the hell did that man do? On this day, Sha Luo trained with the three brothers Katakuri, Owen and Daifuku for 3 or 4 hours. Of course, speaking of training, in fact, most of the time, the three brothers were beaten, especially Owen and Daifuku. Even if they have eaten the transpiration fruit and the hot fruit, they are 15 years old, and the absolute gap between the physical skills and hockey currently makes these two fruits almost useless in front of Charlotte. Beat hard. Thinking of Rayleigh training Luffy in the original book, Sha Luo was also rude, and after a few hours, he directly beat Owen and Dafu to the point of bruising their noses and faces. Only Katakuri, because the sight and appearance are already relatively good, so the flash is faster, and the punches are less. There is no way. Many of my abilities are father-daughter, and I can't rely on the system to directly open up to Katakuri and the others, so I can only be a strict teacher to train them. What's more, even if the system could open them up, Sha Luo wouldn't use them casually, at least not suddenly open them a lot. Especially for Katakuri. The reason is simple. These sons are not the tender seedlings in the greenhouse, they do not experience wind and rain, how can they really grow up? You must know that even though he has an Easter egg system, he has practiced hard for many years before he has truly become more mature in his state of mind. Moreover, many Easter eggs did not fall directly on their heads, but they worked hard to open them. My father is really strict with brother Katakuri and the others. Beside him, Bree, who was watching the battle, murmured. Hearing this, Sha Luo looked at Owen and Dafu's bags. So, sometimes, I really hope my children are all daughters. Sha Luo sighed. Hearing this, Bree, Katakuri and the others were all surprised. Don't your father like boys? Bray asked. If it's a girl, you just need to take good care of it. Sha Luo sighed and said slowly, however, if it's a boy, excessive warmth will only hinder them from growing into real men. They should become stronger in the process of tempering. They clearly understand this truth, but sometimes, when they really put their hands on hardening, the mood is still complicated. Hearing his words, Katakuri, Owen, Daifuku, and the nearby Cracker, who were bruised, all moved their eyes. Men, you should become stronger in the grind. I see. That's why he did this today. Is this what it means to be a master, a top powerhouse who can compete with mom? At the same time, as a father, he clearly understands that he needs to deal with the pain, but he can't bear it. Sure enough. He is still a good father who cares for his children. Father, you don't need to be merciful, Owen said immediately. You are right. In today's training, I feel that my strength has grown a lot. Really? Sha Luo said, that's good. In fact, I also learned Rayleigh beat Luffy, don't thank me, thank Rayleigh. Of course, in addition to that, thinking about the original book, you are considered to be a side of the country in the world, but now you are obediently beaten by me, and after the beating, you say that your father beat him well, and you feel a sense of accomplishment when you think about it. Laozi beats his son, keep going. Okay, that's it for today. Sha Luo said again, you guys also have a good rest and fight again when you have time. Yes, father. Owen and Dafu said. There is one thing I want to ask. At this time, Katakuri suddenly said. What's the matter? Sha Luo said. How much of your strength did you use today? Katakuri asked. Hearing his words, Sha Luo was slightly silent. How much power? This question is really hard to answer. Katakuri, you need to understand one thing. Sha Luo thought for a while. What's the matter? Katakuri said. Sometimes, even if the strength is only 1 point higher than the opponent, it is enough to crush. Sometimes, even if the strength is much lower than the opponent, if you can use one of your advantages to ultimate, you may not be able to force the opponent. I was in a predicament and had to do my best. Sha Luo said slowly, on the battlefield, the enemy will not answer your questions honestly. If you want to know how much of my strength I have used, then improve my combat power by myself. Get up and force me to use more strength to find the answer myself, isn't it? Hearing his words, Katakuri's brows moved involuntarily. Improve your combat power and find the answer yourself. I see. Katakuri muttered. This knowledge, this attitude, is indeed different. Sha Luo secretly exhaled. Your sister, if Laozi only uses 30% of his strength, it will blow your confidence too much. If you say that he uses 70% of his strength and loses his character, there is no clear answer to this question at all. Fortunately, Laozi is witty and suddenly thought of letting you be yourself. Find answers. As expected of a father. Katakuri thought deeply and said deeply, ultimate a certain advantage of oneself, and even be able to force the other party back. So, should I also put it first? Seeing and hearing color raised to the highest. Hearing his words, Sha Luo couldn't help but startled. What the hell? Then you will practice your knowledge and knowledge as hard as in the original book, and you will practice your knowledge and knowledge to the ultimate level, even to the point where you can predict the short-term future. Is it because of me? Good boy. Oh no, good son, you have a promising future. I look up to you for my father, hurry up and practice. Your experience is really excellent, and I feel that there is still a lot of room for development, Sha Luo said immediately. If you have an idea, then try it out. If it's you, it will definitely work. Really? Hearing this, Katakuri raised his brows. Sha Luo's words are full of trust, not like exaggeration at all, as if he is really convinced that he can make great achievements in observation hockey in the future. Father. So optimistic about yourself. You are the man who will become the core fighting force of the family in the future, Katakuri. Sha Luo smiled leisurely, train yourself well. Yes, father. Katakuri replied. That night, Sha Luo possessed the ability of extracting and giving, similar to Charlotte Linlin, and the news that Amando instantly opened the two kinds of hockey, wonderful, passed into Charlotte Linlin's ears. Then, when the two fell asleep together, Sha Luo, what are you and Amando doing? Charlotte Linlin asked. Amando. Sha Luo asked knowingly, seeing how much Sha Luo and Linlin had heard. Yeah, Sha Luo said. Linlin said, I heard that with your help, she learned the two types of hockey, the knowledge color and the armed color, in a blink of an eye, and she can play on the same level as Cracker. Cracker is a family. What a wonderful kid. Oh, that. Sha Luo generally understood the situation and said lightly, that is, to use a special method to temporarily let her experience the feeling of hockey, so that it is convenient and fast to improve. In this case, when the time comes, I will also you can extract a little bit of power from her, just like your ability to extract souls. Do you actually have such an ability? Sha Luo said. Linlin wondered. If you can have that ability, I can't have such ability, Sha Luo said. That's true. Charlotte Linlin thought for a while and said, when I first met you more than 10 years ago, you were different from others. The ability to devour thunder and lightning last time was nothing but yours. Besides, I have never heard of it before. Sha Luo, you are indeed a very special guy. Of course. Sha Luo said. Speaking of this, I remembered the previous prompt from the system, and immediately said, however, Linlin, Amando is your daughter and my daughter. I use her to increase my strength, you can't have any opinion on her, this is all me. Means. If you are not satisfied, I will not extract power from her before I duel with you. Is that so? Sha Luo said. Linlin said, what am I dissatisfied with? If you want to use her, then use her. Anyway, her strength is only that much, even if she improves by leaps and bounds, within 10 years, can't keep up with the level of you and me. Compared with her who is not very talented, why don't you go to find Katakuri and the others? Unfortunately, my ability cannot be used on my sons. Sha Luo said, if I find them, it is purely to accompany them to practice. Really? Hearing this, Sha Luo and Linlin seemed to relax a lot all of a sudden. Then, as a father, you have to teach them occasionally, right? Of course. Sha Luo said, they are your sons, and of course my sons. As long as you know. In a word, Sha Luo and Linlin felt even happier. It seemed that she didn't know that Owen and Dafu had already been beaten up by his father in the afternoon. By the way, Linlin, I also have something to do. Sha Luo suddenly said again. What's the matter? Charlotte Linlin asked. I want to drive him out of the Wangguo that I saw yesterday, Sha Luo said. Ice cream? Sha Luo asked. Linlin wondered, did he offend you? His existence is to offend me, Sha Luo said. What do you mean? Charlotte. Linlin asked, he has helped a lot in Wangguo, if it's not a big mistake, Sha Luo, you can forgive him. Really? Sha Luo said. It seems that Charlotte Linlin is quite tolerant and even trusting of powdered sugar cream because she has accommodated her since she was 5 or 6 years old. In addition, she was not a suspicious woman at all. In the original book, Wang Guo, her subordinates and children betrayed a lot, and she never suspected it beforehand, so last time she had sickness when the attack happened. Why the confectioner's cream was so coincidentally not there, she didn't doubt him either. In this case, forget it, he doesn't have to forcibly destroy his image in her heart and disappoint her. It's like the nun was actually a personal trafficker back then. She didn't know the fact, but that's fine. Sometimes the truth may be too cruel for some who have always believed it. I can deal with him by myself. But this time, I can't forgive him. Sha Luo thought about it and said slowly. Why? Charlotte Linlin wondered. Because, I'm the only man in Wangguo who can call you by your name. Sha Luo pouted. What kind of onion is he? I'm not happy when I see him. Is that so? Hearing his words, Charlotte Linlin was surprised, and then his face was full of joy. I don't know why, but I feel very happy when I hear that my husband is upset. Of course, not schadenfreude, but an indescribable joy. Sha Luo, I didn't expect you to be so angry, Charlotte. Linlin said happily. All in all, I want to drive him away, Sha Luo said. But, after all, he has helped a lot before, Sha Luo said, Linlin said. Then give him a treasure, that's all. Sha Luo thought for a while. Is that so? Hearing this, Sha Luo's eyes lit up slightly. Yeah. Sha Luo replied. Then he said, after all, you have a relationship with him. Tomorrow I am afraid that he will say this and that when he sees you, and finally persuade you to stay with him. You don't want to see him tomorrow, say goodbye to him, or say the matter of forcibly escorting him away, in my opinion. Leave it to Katakuri. Katakuri. Well, it's fine. Sha Luo was very happy. Linlin didn't think too much about it. If Sha Luo personally sent him away, he might have to worry about the two of them. Let's fight, but if it's Katakuri, there's nothing to worry about. Everything is settled quickly. Then, Charlotte. Linlin hugged Sha Luo tightly. Go to sleep. Today feels like another happy night. Ha. Sha Luozui's corner twitched. It's time to be used as a pillow, again. A soothing and painful night passed quickly. Early the next morning, Sha Luo quickly found Katakuri. Father. Katakuri, you are a smart person. During the last Bologna War, why did your moms rush to the island and were almost besieged by Marine, and at the same time I was implicated in Marine at the time? Whether everything is accidental, or whether someone does it intentionally, you will understand it with just a little click. Hearing his words, Katakuri's face twitched. The incident on Bologna Island, Amando also quietly told him later, he felt strange for a long time, but the most suspicious guy was someone who Mom values highly, so he had no choice but to he didn't say anything, just guarded against it. But now, it seems, my father is ready to clean up the threat. Yes, father. Katakuri said. Then, how to deal with the enemy who is good at disguise is up to you. Sha Luo said, everything is left to you. Hearing his words, Katakuri's face moved slightly again. Father is entrusting an important task to him. Yeah. Katakuri responded immediately. He is indeed a smart man. In the original work, he is also a rare villain character in the two-dimensional world, who directly interrupts the opponent's enlargement moves without waiting for the protagonist to slowly read the skill bar. In his own words, no one will watch the other party slowly release skills without interrupting him. Now, the same goes for potential enemies. No one will watch a potential enemy harbor evil intentions and not deal with it sooner. Katakuri soon went to the house where the icing sugar and buttercream lived. He didn't even give the other party time to react and a chance to call. At the age of 15, although he was punched several times by his father the day before, he already possessed a strength no less than Marine Rear Admiral, and even comparable to Marine Vice Admiral. Then, the immobilized powdered sugar cream was sent on a ship with a lot of treasure and went out of the nations. After forever, farewell, powdered sugar cream, Sha Luo's life in Wangguo began to enter the daily rhythm. Every morning, I set off to Bingtang Island to hit the mountain. In the afternoon, I accompany Amando to practice, and at the same time, I occasionally call in Perispero, as well as the three brothers Katakuri, Owen, and Daifuku, to beat him up. Oh no, exercise. As for Cracker, that guy is obviously very well armed, but he is surprisingly afraid of pain, so he had to save it. In your spare time, you can also visit the three Smoji sisters, as well as Charlotte Garrett, who is not yet a year old and can't walk. Then, at night, featured by Charlotte Linlin grabbed it and used it as a pillow. In the outside world, the battle between him and Charlotte Linlin near Dressrosa has been hotly debated for a long time. Some people think that he successfully repelled Charlotte Linlin, some people think that Charlotte Linlin captured him back, and some people think that this is purely a scene played by the two of them together. When the audience all fainted after the fall, the two directly shook hands and made peace. To this end, Sha Luo also found an opportunity to use couple concentric to quietly summon Lisa. Then, told her about the general process and his current situation, and asked her to explain to Tia and Oribabena that this time, I am afraid it will take some time before I go back. So, how does Mrs. Husband Kun plan to change the Big Mom pirate group? Lisa didn't feel too much when she learned that her husband Sama Kun accepted the relationship with Charlotte Linlin half-heartedly. Accident, after all, although that woman has done a lot of cruel and violent things, but for Sha Luo, she attacked the Red Line and slaughtered the countries that joined the world government. With this enthusiasm, even her own woman was moved a bit. Now, it is impossible for an emotional person like Mr. Hukun to remain indifferent. What's more, for him, if he can transform the Big Mom pirate group, it will definitely be a great good thing. It can not only strengthen his own side, but also further promote his concept of Sha, and impact the world. The government's monopoly on justice, and the authority it derives from it. However, such a pirate group that has dominated the New World for nearly 10 years, I am afraid it is not so easy to transform. At least, Lord Fu Kun is still in the Cold War with Sha Luo and Linlin. In my opinion, even if you win against Charlotte Linlin, she and your children may not be able to really understand the concept of husband Kun, your Sha, and may even feel too restrictive. Lisa said, after all, they have killed countless people since they were young. Coupled with the coercion of Sha Luo and Linlin, they have already wiped out the hero dream in their hearts, but still completely different. The idea of a chivalrous man, a heroic dream. Sha Luo also pondered slightly after hearing Lisa's words. Yearning for a hero is actually an innate emotion of most people. It's just, as Lisa said, under the long-term misleading and pressure of Sha Luo and Linlin, their dream was probably already oppressed to the point of death. To wake up again is not as simple as a sentence or two. It's a pity that they haven't read martial arts and fairy tales. There is no such thing in this world, but wait. If there is no such thing, can't I get one myself? If there is such a novel, and it is very exciting, it is definitely better than talking about it for a long time. The protagonist in the story is the best example, and the power of the example is far better than the empty talk. Even in the original work, Roger later promoted One Piece. To be precise, he turned his life experience into a legend, turned it into a novel, and then spread it out, creating an era of pirates. Now, see Sha era. Maybe it can be the same. Sha Luo felt a sudden movement in her heart. Of course, if you want to directly like some YY novels you have read before, the protagonist travels to a world without wonderful novels, and then copies the novels of the previous world, causing everyone to be shocked, and called God tier. That's definitely not going to work. After all, this is not a world where everyone likes to read fiction, and there is no such thing as a long novel at all. If the plot in the story is too far from the background of the real world, people are afraid that it will be directly regarded as a nonsense. If you really want to start writing, you have to think about it carefully. For example, the world background of the story is a key issue. It should not only have a space for imagination, but also have a certain fit with the world of One Piece itself, just like Three Kingdoms, like romance. Modern people read this ancient book with full immersion and relish. All in all, this idea can be kept in mind first, and its feasibility can be considered later. I will consider a suitable method. Sha Luo said immediately. However, you need to do one thing for me first. What's the matter? Lisa asked. Stabilize Oribabena. Sha Luo sighed slightly and said slowly, with her temper, I'm afraid she will come directly to New World and fight against Sha Luo and Linlin. Hearing this, Lisa was a little speechless. Then, Aurora Babena's slightly convulsive, even a little nervous, temperament, as well as the bizarre style of the Women of Nine Snakes, quickly appeared in front of her eyes. Okay. Lisa said seriously, I will persuade her. Then, I have to attack you, maybe I can send you back. Sha Luo said, you have to endure a little. Although she didn't understand why, Lisa responded obediently. Sha Luo immediately started to attack Lisa. There was only a click sound, because Lisa's call was naturally released because of the attack. Concentricity of husband and wife. The husband and wife are of the same mind. When the husband needs his wife to accompany him, he can forcibly summon his wife to his side. Both parties are required to be in a state of non-combat or combat readiness, and if the summoned wife encounters a battle or is attacked during the battle, it will be released directly call. Okay, now, there is nothing to worry about. Looking at Lisa's disappearing figure, Sha Luo exhaled slightly, then squeezed her fists, continue to practice. Then, towards the hill in front of him, he punched it. Hoo. A month passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, Sha Luo found her daughter Amando. Amando, today, give me your power first. Father, are you ready to? Almost, it's time to duel your mom again. Hearing Sha Luo's words, Amando was immediately excited. It's not that I'm excited that my father and mom are going to fight, there is a play, or something, but it seems more like, I have been practicing hard for a month, and now. Finally the day came in handy. Amando quickly excited Kaido, yes, father. Then he said, then what should I do next? You don't have to do anything, just calm down. Sha Luo said. Amando then sat down obediently and slowly closed her eyes, as if she was a little girl, letting the other party act. As for Sha Luo, she shot out and pressed it on Amando's shoulder. At the same time, he glanced at the ability description in the system again. Father and daughter are concentric. When the other party is willing, the father can obtain a part of the body energy from the daughter at a ratio of 80% to strengthen the physique and strength, or obtain the spiritual energy from the daughter at a ratio of 80%, thereby strengthening spiritual strength. If he is willing, the father can transfer part of his body energy and spiritual energy to his daughter at a rate of 100%, thereby strengthening the daughter's related attributes. Because this feature is triggered, the Easter eggs corresponding to father and son cannot be triggered. Seeing the figure of 80%, Sha Luo was moved. Wait, the 80% here, is there any loss in the extraction process? If you draw 100 copies of energy from Amando, and you only get 80 copies, then you will be at a loss. I can still afford this loss, but these strengths were all cultivated by Amando. By the way, ask the system. Sha Luo immediately focused and opened the system interface secretly. Then find the ability of father and daughter concentric. At the end of the ability, there is the word, help, which can briefly explain and assist some of the Easter egg abilities, obtained from the Easter egg system. Explain about 80% ratio. Ding. Fathers can get 80% of their physical or mental energy from their daughters, which means that no matter how much the father wants to extract, he will instinctively return 20% to his daughter while extracting, and the remaining energy in the daughter's body will not be low. At the basic level, using this ability, it is impossible to drain all the energy from the daughter, causing the daughter to be depleted and in crisis, and cannot use this ability to kill the daughter. F*K. Seeing the system answer, Sha Luo suddenly cursed inwardly. Killing my daughter, who is so perverted. Do you think I'm Big Mom who draws his son's lifespan in the original book? However, this way, you can rest assured. 80%, it turned out to be just a safety bolt, you can safely withdraw it, you don't have to worry about it, just like the lifespan of Charlotte. Linlin in the original book, you just finished it without noticing. Sha Luo immediately closed the system interface and looked at Amando in front of him. Then, with a frown, father and daughter concentric, activated. Amando's brows moved involuntarily. In the body, and even in the soul, certain things seem to be being pumped continuously and flow to the hand of the father on the shoulder. That kind of split, general feeling is quite uncomfortable. But, just thinking about what happens next to those split things, everything is still so exciting. Even a little intoxicated. How can I say it? It seems that these pains are the proof that I have been used by others. Even being abused shows that that person is willing to abuse himself. Well, Amando couldn't help but let out a low groan. What's wrong? Sha Luo retracted her palm and asked with concern. Amando's energy is not too much, only in a very short period of time, basically has been extracted, the remaining little, seems to be unable to puncture, that is used to save her life. Nothing. Amando opened his eyes. Father, I've always had a question. What question? Sha Luo said. Although the father's ability is ineffective for the brothers, it should also be effective for Sister Compert and the others, right? Amando said. Why not let them also help the father? That should be of great help to the father. Hearing this, Sha Luo sighed slightly. Although Compert and the others are also very close to me, they are more or less concerned about their mom, right? I think you are the one who will be able to face even Linlin's coercion. A daughter who will be totally on my side too. Maybe Bree too. You too, but I believe the most right now. Hearing his words, Amando's face suddenly moved. Yes, father. At the next moment, his voice even trembled a little, and replied seriously. Okay. I'm going to find you mom, Sha Luo said. You don't have much power today, pay more attention to protecting yourself. After the two finished speaking, Sha Luo went out immediately. In the room, Amando was muttering to himself at this time. Father. He believes me the most. My power is going to be used by my father. Now it is on my father. Father. He drew my power. Father he. After a few minutes. Sister Amando. Bray walked in quickly from the outside of the house. Father and mom are going to duel. Because fighting on Cake Island may ruin this place, I have to leave the world and go to. Sister. What's wrong with you? Before Bu Lei finished speaking, he saw that Amando was lying on the chuang, holding his mouth, turning left, right, left. When Bray rushed into the room, he saw Amando roll over and face Bray. Seeing Bree come in, Amando's face suddenly turned red. Amando opened her mouth and sighed. Sister, are you ill? Seeing this, Bree suddenly said loudly, you lie down first. I'll call my brothers and sisters right away. After saying that, turn around and run. Wait. Bray. Behind, Amando shouted anxiously. But at this time, there is no place to call Bree who is windy and rainy. Bree soon rushed to the place where Katakori and the others used to discuss each other recently. It's not good. Brother Perispero, Brother Katakori, Bray shouted. Bray. What's the matter? Hearing her shout, everyone suddenly asked in shock. Sister Amando is sick and rolling on the chuang. Bray exclaimed. I went to see Sister Amando just now and saw that she was rolling around in pain on the chuang. My body was shaking. Redness. The situation seems serious. What? Hearing her words, Owen, Daifuku, and Cracker couldn't help but look concerned. But then, the three of them opened their eyes at the same time. Wait. Bray. Owen looked behind Bray. You said Amando is sick on chuang. Then who is behind you? What? Hearing this, Bray turned around immediately. I saw Amando running out of breath, but at this time, he had already followed quickly. Sister Amando, you. Bray said in surprise. Cough cough. I'm fine. Amando's face flushed and he coughed twice, just a little excited. Excited. Everyone looked surprised. Well. Amando's eyes slightly avoided a few people. Father, he just took away the power from my body, and now my power can be used by my father, so I got a little excited. What? Everyone was speechless at the same time. Amando's sickness is indeed very serious, and there is almost no cure. But in fact, there is no egg problem at all if it is not cured. And when she was sick, and had to roll left and right on the chuang, as Bu Lei said, Sha Luo and Charlotte Linlin also quickly agreed on the location of the duel. Although it is said that Charlotte Linlin has very strong rule body defense, mid-range and long-range strikes have little effect on her, and must be close-range high-intensity armed attacks to be effective. Therefore, Sha Luo will still be the main player this time, to use close combat. However, he fought with two characters like Charlotte Linlin, even with close-range attacks, instead of large-scale magic attacks like Akainu and Aokiji in the original book, the aftermath of the attack, and some empty fists, it is also enough to destroy an ordinary island on a large scale. What's more, even if the long-range attack is not effective, Sha Luo and Charlotte Linlin may not give up the long-range attack completely, but use it as a means of containment. So Cake Island obviously cannot be used as a battlefield. The same cannot be said for the other islands of the nations. Charlotte Linlin originally wanted to find an island outside Wangguo, but Sha Luo didn't want to affect the civilians. So in the end, the location of the duel was selected on a very familiar uninhabited island in the original book. White Earth Island, Baldigo. Monkey. D. Dragon's Revolutionary Army headquarters in the original book. But that guy Long is still a little boy in his teens, so he doesn't need to worry about everything. Corresponding news was soon notified to all sensible children by Sha Luo, T. Compert, Bray and others. Then, this time, the eldest son Perispero and the eldest daughter Compert were still left behind in the Wangwo. Although the two's combat power was not the highest, Charlotte Linlin had plans to let them be in charge of the affairs of the Wangwo, the second son Katakori, the third son Daifuku, the fourth son Owen, the 10th son Cracker and others, as the main fighting force, accompanied them. In addition, Bray, who was free, kept up with it as usual. Her ability is easy to detect, and in many cases, she will be sent out to perform tasks such as determining whether a certain clan exists. For example, I found the Dong Tata clan last time. Then, Amando also followed. In this way, it was basically the same configuration as when they attacked Bologna 6 months ago and Dressrosa 2 months ago. Everything was arranged properly, and the pirate ship immediately left the nations and went to Baldigo. Sha Luo, although you are very good, I still won't let you beat me, Sha Luo said. Linlin said. Really? Sha Luo said lightly. And I have never understood how good it is to be a pirate, so that everyone is afraid of us, so that no matter what you want, you can grab it directly, even if the other party obediently delivers it yourself. You can also make everyone listen to us, to build an ideal country, Charlotte Linlin said. Why don't you just like this? Hearing her words, Sha Luo sighed slightly. Because, there are some things that you can't actually grab, Linlin. What? People's hearts. People's hearts. Can't you grab that kind of thing? If it wasn't for your earnest pursuit, you wouldn't be able to grab my heart. And in addition, even if I grab it, what I really hope in my heart is that one day in the future, people will read your story and say, this extraordinary beauty with super strength, she is the wife of that legendary man Sha Luo, instead of saying, this evil devil is the concubine of that man Sha Luo. Some people may say that the master cares what to do with that little reputation. But now, I also have my own strength, territory, wealth, and even a lifespan that exceeds the average number of people. If I live in Wangwo, it will be enough to eat like a pig and wait to die for the rest of my life. Pursue what? Isn't it just the satisfaction of being so famous, being admired by children, and being admired by others? Like some YY novels I've read before, many people say, I don't care about reputation, as if they are indifferent to fame and fortune. In the end, don't they want to find every opportunity to jump out and pretend to be slapped in the face? That being the case, it would be better to do a career in an open and above-board way, leave a tall or beautiful shadow of yourself and your children in the hearts of countless people, and then live in seclusion. However, that kind of thing, if I tell you directly now, you probably won't understand it, right? Only find a way to force you to do it and let you experience the joy of not only being feared, but also being admired by others. Sha Luo squeezed her fist again. The pirate ship set sail and stopped 2 days later on the coast of a bustling island. Speaking of which, I still have an acquaintance here, Sha Luo said. Linlin said. Acquaintance. Sha Luo was surprised. Yes, Charlotte Linlin said happily. She is a person who understands my ideals very well, and knows that I like to collect people and animals of various rare races, so she provided me with a lot of what she inquired about. Information. She has so much information that even your huge pirate group sometimes has to rely on her. Sha Luo was surprised. That's right. Charlotte Linlin said happily, because, like me, she is also the queen of this area. Queen? This term seems to make Sha Luo think of something. Ah, the one in front. Is that a Linlin? At this time, only a woman's voice could be heard, and it came from the opposite side. Ah, Stacy. Hearing the woman's words, Charlotte Linlin Kaido, long time no see. Your information is still so well informed, I just arrived, you will know. Because, the men in Happy Street have already said your name in a panic. On the opposite side, the woman smiled leisurely. I also really want to see the legendary one who is favored by you. Man, how good is he? So he didn't invite him, he came here himself. Hearing the woman's words, Sha Luo quickly glanced at her. The next moment, the corner of the corner twitched. Damn, it turns out that this guy is an old monster. In the original novel, the world chapter, in the era of the plot still looks like a young woman in her 20s and 30s, queen of the pleasure district, Stacy. She is even older than Charlotte. Linlin. Appearing in front of Sha Luo is exactly 2 years after the plot era in the original novel. That is, the year 1522 of the Haiyuan calendar, who is still as young as a young woman, Stressy. Nominally the queen of Pleasure Street. But in fact, he is Sha Luo's old enemy, and an important member of the top-secret cipher Polpo directly under the world government. As for how she and Charlotte, how did Linlin know and was trusted by Charlotte Linlin? As a traveler, everything seems to be not difficult to understand. In the original book, Charlotte Linlin was adopted by a nun, and then, when the nun privately conducted human trafficking transactions with the world government, he commented on her. If you send her to Marine, you can definitely become Admiral, Marshal, level. This comment is quite impressive, and it is also that evaluates the strength of Charlotte Linlin from the perspective of the Aborigines, namely, guarantee admiral, are even higher. At the same time, there is another comment: if you send it to the CP, you can become the strongest shield of the Tianlong people. Although all this has not been realized, the nun was eaten, but if the nun can say something like, send it to CP, it obviously means that such a thing has not happened. And Stacy. I am afraid it is that Charlotte Linlin ate the person who happened to be sent out before the nun incident. He is also a friend of Sha Luo and Linlin who had been with him for a few months as a child. Or, big sister, therefore, when the two accidentally met many years later, Charlotte Linlin would naturally trust and be very kind to this rare childhood friend when talking about the nun's past. Damn it, how big is this Stacy in the original book? The grandmother with a guarantee of 70. Tsunade Heim in pirate version, or what devil fruit did he eat? Do you want to see my husband? Hearing Stacy's words, Charlotte Linlin said happily, he is my husband. Charlotte, you should have heard his name before, needless to say. Said and pointed to Sha Luo next to him. Hearing this, Stacy took a quick look. I have heard of it, but I didn't expect it to be a bit more handsome than the wanted list. As the queen of Happy Street, Stressy's mouth. When you want to be sweet, you can be sweeter than anyone else. Shi Yoran smiled and said, Linlin, you are really married to a good husband. Are you here to play on this trip? It's not. Sha Luo said. Linlin said, my husband. He doesn't like me being a pirate, and I can't convince him, so we have to use fists to convince each other. Is it actually going to a duel? Stressy said with a look of surprise. In that case, I would like to see it. Linlin, your strength is so outstanding, and the name of the mine-eater, Sha Luo, is even on Happy Street. Is also widely spread, such a battle, but no one wants to miss it. Really? Charlotte Linlin said, that's okay, you come with us. Okay. Stressy rode. After he finished speaking, his figure flashed and he jumped onto the boat lightly. She didn't hide all her strengths. After all, it was almost impossible to get along in a place like New World with only her beauty and no ability. However, she also didn't use shave or moonwalk. Seeing this, Sha Luo smiled leisurely. It seems that Linlin's friend is also a very talented person. Where? Stacy pretended to be modest and smiled, it's just enough to protect myself. Compared with you, Linlin and my brother, it's far worse. Next, please be sure to open my eyes. Do your best. Sha Luo said lightly. This Stacy, although the real age in this era should not be too old, but in the original book, Khalifa has been disguised in the Seven Waters for several years in his 20s. In other words, Khalifa entered CP9 when he was a teenager. In contrast, Stacy is afraid that not only has he entered CP0, but has been in CPO for many years. Or to be more precise, she became queen of the Pleasure District by the arrangement of the CPO. There is Stacy in the front and Khalifa in the back. Your CP organization is really good at disguising. So, to expose her, or what? CPO. This is not an easy organization to settle. Even, to be able to enter CP0, first of all must have undergone strong brainwashing, otherwise it will not be enough to become the strongest shield of Tianlong people. Such brainwashing, if you want to bring her back, even if you have the Hokage, Naruto-level mouth evasion skills, I'm afraid it's not enough, right? That being the case, it's better not to have any expectations. If necessary, delete it as soon as possible. Although this woman has a good appearance, when I read the original book, I felt amazed, but on the one hand, I have no shortage of women, and on the other hand, the more beautiful a woman is, the more difficult it is when she becomes an enemy. Let's see how you act and what do you want to do? Sha Luo took a deep breath. Then, he pressed the killing machine and said nothing, as if he treated Stressy as a smoky flower woman, and treated it indifferently. The ship replenished its supplies a little near the port, and before long, continued on its way. 2 days later, it was about close to Baldigo. By the way, Linlin, I have some news to tell you. At this time, Stressy suddenly remembered something and said. Your news has always been very good, Charlotte. Linlin said, what news? A few days ago, at my Spring Island auction house, someone auctioned a captured mermaid. Stressy said, I remembered that you always wanted to be like Mother and let all races live together in your house. In the all nations, so I bought that mermaid. Really? Hearing Stacy's words, Charlotte Linlin said happily, that's great. But, is there only one merman? What do you mean? Stacy asked in confusion. I heard that if a male mermaid of the merman tribe and a human woman are combined, they will also produce offspring of the mermaid tribe. Only a female merman and a human man are combined to give birth. Only human beings. The auction that day was a male mermaid that no one robbed. I bought him successfully for only 1 million Bailey. Why, are you not satisfied? If only there were two, Sha Luo said. Linlin said, I want a pure-blooded mermaid child. Hearing her words, next to her, Sha Luo was stunned. Charlotte. Linlin, actually want a pure-blood mermaid child? Maybe this is a completely unremarkable little thing for other people. However, for Sha Luo, who is a traveler, he has quickly thought of a daughter in the original book. Forgot the name. All in all, it was the one who married Aladdin, the ship doctor of the Sun Pirates, and when Luffy and his gang escaped, he used his wonderful singing to solve all the sea Katsuyu who had the ability to report news under the sea. That daughter, Sha Luo, still likes it, so I have some impressions. If I remember correctly, in the original book, she should be a half-mermaid, as Stacy said. The mermaid man and the human woman have offspring and will maintain the mermaid bloodline, but in the original book, because the mother is Charlotte Linlin, the bloodline is not completely pure. Calculating her age, she will be born in the next 2 years. If you guessed correctly, the mermaid Stacy bought. He is one of the husbands of Charlotte Linlin who threw them away when they were used up in the original book. It was originally supposed to develop like this. But now, because of the influence of himself as a transmigrator, Sha Luo and Linlin no longer want to be with other men like in the original book. But in the end, it turned out to want to catch 2 mermaids and combine them, and after giving birth to a pure-blooded child, forcibly snatch them away? Forcibly taking someone else's daughter, this kind of thing. In the original book, Charlotte Linlin's children are her own anyway, so it doesn't matter how she plays with them. Even if she ruthlessly abandons those husbands, she is still the biological mother of the children and has the right to take them away. But now, also because of the influence of her transmigrator, Charlotte Linlin no longer has those dozen or so husbands. Instead, she has become a trafficker who robs other people's children everywhere. Sha Luo took a deep breath. You want a pure-blooded mermaid child? Beside, Stacy repeated to Charlotte. Linlin. Yeah. Sha Luo said. Linlin said, I didn't give birth to it myself anyway. In this case, the purer the bloodline, the better? Is that so? Stacy said, that's not easy. I heard that female mermaids are very popular in Sabodi Archipelago. Not only are they rarely caught, but even if they are caught, they will to be snatched quickly at a high price. Unless you go to the Fishmen Island to catch it yourself. The Fishmen Island. Sha Luo thought for a while. Linlin said, whenever, go to the Fishmen Island to catch a female mermaid. Well, it's not too difficult for you, Linlin. Stacy laughed. I'm definitely not going to do it. When the time comes, be sure to invite me to see the female mermaid. I have never seen such a legendary race. Okay. Charlotte Linlin said. Hey, you two. When the two of them said this, Sha Luo finally couldn't help it and said in a deep voice, what do you think of adopting a child? What do you mean? Hearing this, Charlotte Linlin asked in confusion. The children of other people also have their own parents. Sha Luo frowned and said, forcibly taking away the children of other people's parents, don't you feel any guilt in your heart? Hearing his words, Charlotte Linlin was slightly taken aback, as if he didn't quite understand what he meant. Ah, little brother, you are too serious. Stacy laughed. There are so many parents who leave their children in the world, but not everyone is as serious as you. Yeah. Charlotte Linlin said, my father and mother used to talk about doing some errands nearby, and then they left me and never came back. Only mother, who later lived with me like a real mother. Now, what I do is the same as mother. I will live a good life with my children. Hearing her words, Sha Luo was at a loss for words. This sounded very reasonable, and I was speechless. It seems that in some wonderful places, the concept was stolen and changed, and then a strange concept was formed. To put it simply, it is about a serious overgeneralization, forcibly generalizing everything with a small number of occasional things. To forcefully deny all parental affection with a small number of parents who abandon their children. If a person thinks this way, maybe he can be corrected. However, in addition to Sha Luo and Linlin herself, Stacy seems to be deliberately inducing her in this direction. What the hell is this woman doing? Sha Luo does not think that, as a CPO member, as the queen of a place like Happy Street, she will not be able to distinguish these concepts. But, she seems to be condoning Charlotte Linlin to do evil on purpose. Just like that powdered sugar cream, she put on a good face for her, but she was deliberately leading her to some wrong ideas. This guy. Sha Luo couldn't help but glanced quickly at Stacy. I saw Stacy, his face was indifferent at this time, and there was a different kind of smile on the corner of his mouth. That calmness is indeed a qualified CPO member. Wait. CPO. Sha Luo's heart moved, and she reacted suddenly. Haven't you figured this out before? The government of the world needs pirates to do evil. The more evil the pirates are, the more they can show the justice of the government, so that people can point the finger at the pirates, so that no one doubts the authority of the government and the absolute privilege that the nobles are born with. Therefore, for hundreds of years, the world government has never driven out all the pirates, even though it has always been stronger than the pirates. This is the same as the last time the government deliberately failed to stop Sha Luo and Linlin from slaughtering the island, using the hands of pirates to demonstrate the government's justice and authority. Linlin, you were a pawn they put outside. And now, the direct player is Stacy. Sha Luo took a deep breath. So, at this point, I really can't communicate with you. Sha Luo sighed. Really? Sha Luo said. Linlin also said helplessly, Sha Luo, why don't you understand my thoughts? It's useless to talk too much, said Charlotte. As he spoke, he looked at the barren island full of yellow sand and rocks that had already appeared in front of him. If I win, just listen to me in the future. After he finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he left the ship directly and headed for the white earth island Baldigo in front of him. Sure enough, you still have to use your fists to speak. Sha Luo flew to Baldigo Island in a blink of an eye. Behind, the main ship of the Big Mom pirates, the Queen Mother Anthem, soon sailed to a place 100 or 200 meters away from the coast. Then, Charlotte. Linlin stepped on the thundercloud Zeus, and also flew to the island. Okay, let's start, Charlotte. Linlin said loudly, after you win, you are mine again. It depends on whether you have that ability or not. Sha Luo said, her hands spread out in the air. The next moment, I saw countless iron balls appearing out of nowhere near him, above his head, and floating there. Then, shoo, 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 all the iron balls flew into the air quickly. In the blink of an eye, it flew to the midair of 300 or 400 meters, like a rain of hail, floating there densely. Electromagnetic levitation. The entire space, within a radius of 500 meters, has formed a continuous, large-scale electromagnetic field. Electromagnetic field. All conductors in the field can be quickly induced by Sha Luo, and the current will be released in an instant to connect with it, thus forming absolute manipulation. Although it does not have the same high kinetic energy as the sky-based fall, used in marine, it is more convenient for electromagnetic ejection within a small range. Therefore, it can also form ultra-high, 5 times the speed of sound. Impact speed. This is the 100-fold version that can be used with confidence after 4 years of hard work on Thunder Island, strengthening the ability to store electricity, and having a strong electromagnetic reserve. The Super Electromagnetic Gun. Electromagnetic, 300 stars, Father. Seeing the black stars in the sky, on the Queen Mother Anthem, Katakuri, Daifuku, Owen, Cracker, Amando, Bree and others couldn't help but be amazed. As expected of the father who can duel with mom, once he takes action, he is completely extraordinary. But, it won't work for me, Charlotte Linlin exclaimed, armed color enhancement. As she spoke, she saw that both of her arms had already turned into a deep black color. At the same time, even the huge body was faintly wrapped around something. Mom is going to do his best, on the Queen Mother Anthem, Bray couldn't help but exclaimed. Father is very strong, but, Mom is equally terrifying. This battle is unpredictable. Innately tough body, coupled with a powerful weapon color, this strength can indeed make Mom not afraid of meteorites falling from the sky, but it will consume some of her armament color. Beside, Owen also said in amazement. What's the father going to do then? Bree asked. Father's defense is mainly improved by his own use of various abilities. If he is hit by a meteorite ball, he will be more passive. Owen thought for a while and said, in my opinion, Father will be in battle one by one. Let the meteorite iron balls fall at a high speed and cooperate with their own attacks. The stars are falling. Before he finished speaking, on Baldigo Island, Sha Luo suddenly shouted loudly. And then, boom, 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 boom. Hundreds of meteorite iron balls, like a torrential rain, with violent flames ignited by the high-speed ejection of the air, like meteor volcano, crashed down. At the same time, Sha Luo's figure flashed quickly and rushed directly into the storm. What? Seeing this, Owen, Daifuku, Cracker and the others were all shocked. Who? The next moment, the rain of meteorite iron slammed on Baldigo Island fiercely, and the strong impact even caused the entire island to shake faintly. The severe wind pressure was imminent, and on the sea, the Queen Mother Anthem couldn't help shaking. At the same time, on the island of Baldigo, in the violent crashing sound, Charlotte's voice suddenly came out. Linlin groaned in pain. Mom? Hearing that voice, everyone exclaimed in unison. Mom made a cry of pain. This is simply unprecedented. Father Sama. With one hit. Amidst the panic of everyone, on the island, only Sha Luo and Linlin could hear another long cry. And then, shish, on Baldigo Island, where countless pieces of dust were thrown up because of the falling iron rain, Sha Luo's figure quickly flashed out of the battle circle. Then, he opened his arms and spread his hands wide again in the air. Countless iron balls, near him and above his head, quickly reappeared and floated there. Then, it quickly flew into the sky again. At this time, the dust that was raised in the previous battle circle completely fell. At the center of the bombardment, Linlin was still standing there. However, it was his right hand covering his left shoulder. Damn it! Sha Luo, you hurt me, Charlotte, Linlin exclaimed. Is it just a pain? Sha Luo said, then come again. I just said hello just now, this time, I won't stop halfway. After speaking, I saw the meteorite iron ball that just floated in the air, again with a burning flame, and quickly fell down. And Sha Luo, with a quick flash, has rushed into the place where the meteorite rain is about to fall. Boom, 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 boom. On the battlefield, the sound of violent bombing sounded again in an instant. Countless rubble flew up, and Baldigo Island was shaken at this time. The wind swept through, and the Queen Mother anthem shook again. Brother Katakuri, this is, Amando said with a look of shock and concern. My father used the meteorite as a restraint. At the moment when a large amount of meteorite fell, he used a very high sense of sight to accurately find the gap between the explosive meteorites and kill them from the best angle, Keita said. Curry frowned, and said in a deep voice, meteorite is like his weapon, and it also has electromagnetic power attached to it, which will interfere with the performance of Mom's knowledge, just like being in a noisy place. In the street, it is difficult to accurately hear the voice that you want to hear. In this way, the father's advantage of seeing and speed can be maximized in the Reign of Iron. To exaggerate the words, the father even it's a man who doesn't need an umbrella when it rains. What about Mom? Bray asked. The mom, on the other hand, uses the whole body to be armed, forcibly stings, and quickly counterattacks at the moment of being attacked. Katakuri said, although most of them rely on instinct, but Mom's natural instinct is stronger than this world. Anyone. And Mom's attack, the power is needless to say. So, what is on the island now is, Amando said faintly. Speed? vs strength, Katakuri said slowly, this is a showdown between the color of knowledge and the color of armament. Hearing his words, everyone froze in unison. Speed? vs strength, seeing color versus armed color. This is the shocking duel that is going on between the father and Mom. Unlike the last battle near Dressrosa, this time, father no longer needs to think about Mom's face. Therefore, this time, it is his real battle mode. So, this time, will the outcome change? Hearing Katakuri's words, looking at the smoke and dust that filled the sky on Baldigo Island in front of them, an unspoken feeling of amazement rose in the hearts of everyone. The group of meteorites with flames falling like rain, and the endless thick fog rising from the sky, is playing a thrilling battle that no one can see, only they know. Boom. 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 On the island of Baldigo, the sound of violent bombing continued. The island swayed, the air shook, and from time to time, from the rising smoke and dust, a dazzling and splendid light would suddenly burst out. On the Queen Mother hymn, everyone felt a chill in their hearts, light or heavy. That was the aftermath of the duel between the father and Mom. The powerful hockey not only brought strong wind pressure and a large amount of gravel, but even seemed to forcibly crack the air. In an instant, even if they couldn't see clearly, everyone invariably felt a deep, eye-opening feeling. I have never seen such a strong man before. On the Big Mom pirate ship, Stacy couldn't help but be moved. The duel between two Emperor-level characters, let alone in the assassination-type CP organization, even in the entire Marine, I am afraid that few people can play such a scene. I originally thought he just wanted to gain Linlin's power, but now it seems that his ability is enough to dominate one side, so why do you have to rely on Linlin? Stressy secretly exclaimed. For Linlin's beauty. However, although Linlin is beautiful, his body shape is not at the same level as him. Even if he wants to find women to do that, things like those boring men in Happy Street, it is estimated that neither of them have done it yet. What's more, according to Marine's internal information, he has already had 2 wives in Marine. And with his strength, if he wants more beautiful women, what's the problem? Being the king by yourself, you can go sideways. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to discuss it with Linlin. If you want beautiful women, you don't need to come to Linlin. Then what is he doing? To win Linlin fame? However, in this duel, apart from me, no outsiders were invited to watch. Unless you want to take Linlin's head directly? Stacy's mouth twitched secretly. There is only one possibility. Pretend to be husband and wife with Linlin first. In this way, no matter how many times he loses, he will not be killed by Linlin, and as long as Linlin loses once, he can take Linlin's head unceremoniously. It's really a foolproof, profit and loss plan. Really crafty guy. But, let's forget about that. Now is the situation of two tigers fighting. Even if one side wins, it will definitely consume a huge amount of strength. At that time, if he defeats Linlin and wants to take down Linlin's head, he can join forces with Linlin and her sons to take advantage of the fact that he has not recovered after the war, and take this government regarded as a great enemy, even secretly defined. For a man who may threaten the world government itself, it will definitely be a great achievement at that time. And if Linlin wins, he can also see if there is any chance to win him who has not recovered after the war. After all, although it is definitely not as big as the two of them on the scene, but as a member of the CPO, many of his skills are good at killing one person silently and suddenly. As long as the tiger is weak, a small scene can be fatal with one blow, so why does it need to have some grand pomp? So, now I'm just sitting on the mountain and watching the tiger fight, standing in an invincible position, and earning no losses, you two idiots. Thinking of this, Stacy's face lightened. And on Baldigo Island in front, at this time, the war is still going on. Boom. 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 Hoo. 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 Groups of iron balls that had been prepared for a long time flew into the sky again, and then bombarded down at high speed with flames. On the battlefield, the sound of the iron falling to the ground, the sound of fists and feet colliding, and the sound of hockey cracking, made the entire Baldigo Island seem to be in a doomsday disaster, which is shocking. An hour passed quickly, 2 hours, and then passed 3 hours, 4 hours. The red sun moved westward, and gradually, the roar of Baldigo Island had lasted for more than 5 hours. Father, Mom. Looking at Baldigo Island ahead, all the children, including Katakuri, were amazed. Now, they have every reason and qualification to ridicule that % of the people in the world are hillbillies who have never seen the world. Because, they are the ones who have really seen the big scene. The two people on the island in front of them have already used their own duel to tell them, as children, how much the upper limit of one person can reach. Therefore, they will no longer be like some frogs in the well, with a little force, they will be complacent. Call. Amidst the amazement of the crowd, in front of them, on the island of Baldigo, there was another heavy beating sound. And then, Charlotte Linlin's pained voice came out. At the same time, a huge figure took a few steps back in the center of the smoke, staggered under his feet, and almost fell backwards. Seeing this, everyone's pupils moved at the same time. Mom? Father? Victory and defeat, will it finally start to be divided? Is the mighty mom finally defeated? Is it the father who has the upper hand? On the Queen Mother anthem, Bree and Amando were surprised at the same time. As for Stacy, her brows furrowed. Linlin, is it my illusion? The dust and smoke fell a little, and Sha Luo's leisurely voice came from Baldigo Island, your armament seems to have weakened. Opposite, Charlotte Linlin frowned tightly. At the same time, Shen covered his stomach with his hands. Seeing this, Katakuri frowned. So it is, Momshi. What's wrong? Everyone asked in unison. I'm hungry, Katakuri said slowly. Hearing this, everyone was shocked at the same time. Hungry? Mom hungry? Hearing Katakuri's words, everyone was stunned almost at the same time. After a long while, he suddenly realized that several hours had passed before he knew it. Since I was sensible, I have never seen who Mom has been fighting with for so long. For masters, physical fitness is generally more due. However, Mom is also a special case. Because, the power of Mom is not obtained by the practice of the day after tomorrow. Although she has also practiced, the strength gained through practice only accounts for a very small part of her strength. The most powerful part of Mom lies in its innate ability, or instinct. And human instinct that's hungry, just need to eat. What's more, Mom is said to be a big foodie. He used to suffer from severe eating disorder. Later, when he met his father, his eating disorder was upgraded to become a philanderer. In addition, he started to care about his body consciously or unintentionally. This is relieved. But even so, the impact of fighting for a long time and not eating now on Mom is self-evident. On the other hand, on the father's side, not only has it been a big scene and a big skill, but, until now, it seems to be in good spirits. Of course. After all, the last time he traveled all the way to Dressrosa to stop Mom from slaughtering the island, it is said that he ran for 4 days and 4 nights in a row, with only a few hours of rest in between. In this way, when the battle continues for too long, an unexpected key factor that may even directly affect the battle situation appears. Mom. It's not as good as my father's holding Ju. Sha Luo exhaled slightly. To be honest, after a few more hours of fighting, he might be ready to give up. After all, the gap in hard power between him and Charlotte Linlin has obviously not been completely filled. Even with Amando's bonus, that little bonus, as Charlotte Linlin said earlier, is not enough to directly affect the outcome between the two. To this end, he had to use his IQ advantage and made a lot of preparations in advance. For example, 7,000 iron balls were prepared in the storage space in advance to cooperate with oneself to fight. Of those 7,000 iron balls, he took out about 100 at a time, and now he has squandered all that was left. In addition, he also focuses on giving full play to his own advantages of knowledge, just like his son, Katakuri in the original book, uses super strong knowledge to predict the opponent's attack in advance, so that when he attacks, you can concentrate your armed color on your fist, and when the enemy is about to attack, you can quickly focus your armed color on the place where you are about to be attacked. In this way, coupled with the ability of Immortal State, Unicorn Arm, Ru Body Activation, etc., his attack can also be effective against Charlotte Linlin, and has always been on par with Charlotte Linlin. However, such an evenly matched situation is not a solution. Therefore, seeing that the 7,000 iron balls are about to be used up, he has already planned to give up on his own initiative, and after going back to further improve his strength, he will fight again next time. After all, he and Charlotte Linlin are not deadly enemies, so there is no need to fight to the death today. It should have been like this. However, just when he started to think about giving up. Charlotte Linlin, but first of all, can't hold it anymore?
Unexpected joy. Linlin, is it my illusion? Your armament seems to have weakened. Sha Luo said with a leisurely smile.
Hearing his words, Sha Luo and Linlin couldn't help but feel annoyed. I won't get weaker, Charlotte Linlin said. Then, I'll have to knock you down. Sha Luo laughed. I won't use tricks like stumbling, I just rely on direct attacks. When you fall down, you can think it's me. Victory? Then you need to be able to beat me, Charlotte Linlin said loudly. Then, go on, Sha Luo said, her figure flashed quickly. The next moment, the golden figure suddenly flashed behind Charlotte. Linlin sighed. Yeah. Seeing him start, Charlotte Linlin let out a low drink, and quickly swung his left arm to the side and back. But this time, shish, in midair, the figure of Sha Luo flashed once again. In the next instant, he came directly to Charlotte Linlin. And then, woo, an extremely fast punch, slammed hard on the place where his head rested when he slept every day for the past month.
And Charlotte Linlin, at this time, was even attacking Sha Luo's previous phantom.
In an instant, the whole body involuntarily retreated backwards. Mom's instincts are starting to weaken too. Cracker involuntarily blurted out aboard the Queen Mother anthem. It seems that the battle will be decided soon, Owen said. While they exclaimed, on the battlefield, Sha Luo's figure flashed in rapid succession like a ghost. On the other hand, Sha Luo and Linlin felt a little bit stunned. Who? On the battlefield, the sound of Charlotte Linlin's attack was heard in succession. Her footsteps kept retreating, and she stumbled several times, almost falling down. Linlin, is it okay to admit defeat obediently? Sha Luo laughed. We are husband and wife anyway, if you admit defeat, I will stop immediately. What? Hearing his words, on the Big Mom pirate ship, Stacy's brows could not help but move. He actually told Linlin to admit defeat, didn't he take the opportunity to kill her? What is this guy planning? I won't admit defeat. On the battlefield, Charlotte Linlin said angrily, I won't admit defeat to you. Why are you so stubborn? Sha Luo said. Saying that, he punched again. Charlotte Linlin couldn't help but take a few steps back. Then, barely stand still. If you lose, your goal has been achieved, and you will leave Wangguo, right? Charlotte Linlin said angrily, I managed to catch you back, things like this. Things like this. Ah. Muttering to himself, Charlotte Linlin suddenly made an extremely restless voice. Seeing this, Sha Luo couldn't help but look surprised. What's happening? Urgent toward Charlotte when Linlin looked carefully, she saw that her eyes had suddenly become crazy. At the same time, there was a lot of muttering in the mouth, and the voice became heavier and more crazy. Sha Luo, Sha Luo, Sha Luo, Charlotte Linlin exclaimed suddenly. Sha Luo's face couldn't help but move. This scene seems familiar in the original book. It's just that the Charlotte Linlin in front of her is dozens of times more beautiful than the original, and what she is shouting is no longer a wedding cake. On the Queen Mother anthem, Katakuri couldn't help but frown. Could it be that? What's the matter? Brother Katakuri? Beside him, Bray asked in surprise. Sympathy. Katakuri said solemnly, the crisis that her father may leave has made Mom deeply anxious, and her schizophrenia has attacked directly against her father. What? Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Linlin. At the same time, on the battlefield, Sha Luo couldn't help being stunned. Are you so unwilling for me to leave? In an instant, Sha Luo suddenly felt a little sigh, looking at Charlotte. Linlin, who was a little mad because of himself, the whole person was slightly ecstatic, as if the previous passion for winning today was completely gone. At this time, Charlotte. Linlin was shouting loudly, his eyes full of madness. Then, like a rampage, he strode forward and charged towards Charlotte. A huge fist was already in front of him in a blink of an eye. Sha Luo suddenly came back to her senses and raised her arm urgently. Call. The next moment, like a broken kite, the whole person flew backwards. Father. This time it really turned a corner and changed hastily. One moment ago, Sha Luo had an obvious upper hand, but the next moment, he suddenly flew out backwards. Seeing this scene, Amando, Bree, and even Kazuki were on the Queen Mother's anthem. Takori and the others all hurriedly exclaimed. Sha Luo flew upside down 20 or 30 meters away in one fell swoop. Then, I heard the voices of Amando and others coming from the sea. He quickly glanced at the boat on the sea, and saw Amando, Bree, Katakori and the others all rushing to the bow at this time. Beside him, Stacy also looked at him with attention. In an instant, Sha Luo's thoughts flew in his head. Then, he didn't use electromagnetic levitation to forcibly stabilize his body, and only heard a loud call, and the whole person slammed into the ground covered with gravel and iron ball remnants. On the ground, a cloud of smoke suddenly rose again. Sha Luo, and Charlotte. Linlin, at this time, strode towards this side, as if the battle was still going on. Before long, he had reached the vicinity of Sha Luo, raised his huge fist, and seemed to be waiting for him to jump off the ground and attack again. Sha Luo, continue to duel, Charlotte. Linlin shouted loudly. Hearing this, Sha Luo lay on the ground, as if struggling twice. Then, with a pop sound, a large mouthful of blood spit out from his mouth. Seeing this, on the sea, Amando and the others finally couldn't bear it any longer. Mom, stop it. Bray shouted, Father has already lost. Don't hurt your father. Hearing Bulay's words, Charlotte Linlin frowned. With big eyes, he glanced heavily at Sha Luo on the ground. Then, the previous madness slowly subsided. Instead, he looked surprised. Sha Luo, why did you suddenly lose? Charlotte Linlin asked in confusion. I didn't expect your attack power in this state to be so violent. Sha Luo took a deep breath, thought about it, and said angrily. Really? Charlotte Linlin said. At this time, she also remembered the scene just now, and then frowned again. But even so, you shouldn't get caught so easily. This. Sha Luo was speechless. Based on his knowledge and speed, if he wanted to dodge, even Charlotte Linlin, who was in a rampant state, really wouldn't be able to hit himself so easily. Tell me, why? Charlotte Linlin frowned tightly. At the same time, a bent, Shen hand quickly raised Sha Luo up. Aren't you planning to duel anymore? You're ready to leave, Charlotte, Linlin said loudly. Ah. Hearing this, Sha Luo couldn't help but startled. Am I that kind of person? Even if I leave, I will leave openly. What happened just now? Charlotte Linlin said a little irritably. As if still worried that Sha Luo suddenly left without saying goodbye. This, Sha Luo sighed helplessly. Then, looking a little embarrassedly to the side. I just saw that you had some kind of mental illness because you were afraid that I would leave, and I thought it was not easy for you, so I just lost my mind for a while. Hearing his words, Sha Luo's face suddenly froze. It's actually because of this, Charlotte Linlin said with a look of surprise. Otherwise, what else can you do? Sha Luo asked angrily. To be honest, a big man would be distracted by that kind of thing during a battle. He saw that the opponent was mad because of himself, and suddenly lost his fighting spirit. This is also a shame to say it. Don't force me to say it twice, no? Hearing his words, Charlotte Linlin was stunned again. Then, staring blankly at Sha Luo, who was being held by him in front of him. Then, he suddenly pressed Sha Luo into his arms and hugged him tightly. Did you give up the duel because you didn't want to make me sad? Sha Luo. My husband, I really like you even more than before. Hearing her shout, everyone nearby was stunned at the same time. For a moment, the air seemed to freeze suddenly. Immediately after,